Have you complained about your country today? Yeah, me too. But after seeing this video, you'll undoubtedly thank God you weren't born here, and even for the potholed sidewalk on your street. Because there's a place where the power poles look like a rat's nest. The crowded trains even defy gravity. In India, cows rule the road more than cars, and rats are even worshipped as gods. Plus, throwing dung at a pal is a sign of good fortune. Yes, this is India. You have dinner tonight and get 7 days of free diarrhea. Tourism with included hospitalization is almost a complete package. If you're a little girl who is squeamish about everything, you might not want to watch this video. Today, I'm going to demonstrate why India truly is the worst country on earth, and I can back that up. And look, in the end, if you're Brazilian like me, you'll want to kiss the ground of Brazil. The first is the sheer shock of overpopulation. India has more than 1.4 billion inhabitants. This signifies that 1 out of every 6 individuals on the entire planet is Indian. Picture yourself at a pub table with 5 friends. Statistically speaking, one of them ought to be squeezed onto the Delhi metro right now. And this absurd amount of people isn't just a pretty number on Google. You experience it on every corner. The nation truly resembles an endless Black Friday sale in a bustling metropolis. But it's every day, all year long, incessant honking, shouting, motorcycles, cows, and buses, all mixed together. To give you an idea, the city of Mumbai by itself has more people than all of Portugal. And New Delhi, the capital city, has already exceeded 30 million residents, almost the entire population of Canada squeezed into a single metropolis. And the result is obvious: chaos, traffic jams, clogged streets, and air pollution that chokes you with your first breath. It's the sort of place where if you experience anxiety, simply stepping out into the street can trigger a full-blown heart attack. The curious thing is that even with so many people, the birth rate has already fallen and is now close to 2 children per woman. But the effect of this break will only become apparent decades from now. Until then, the chaos continues. This is why any minor failure quickly escalates into a shared catastrophe. If there's a power outage, it affects not hundreds, but millions left without a fan in the heat. If it rains excessively, it's not just one neighborhood, but a whole city that floods. What's curious is that for them, this is normal. An Indian is born into the push and shove. They learn to survive in crowded spaces, noise, confusion. While we complain about the crowded subway at 6 in the evening, over there, crowded is a life experience. You get squeezed until you discover ribs you never felt before. And the worst part is, there's nowhere to run. You might be in giant cities or tiny villages, it makes no difference. You'll still find too many people absolutely everywhere. It's as if India were a gigantic human anthill, pulsating, shouting, and moving non-stop. 2. The landscape of chaos. If you think the wiring in Brazil's favelas looks ugly, hold your horses, because in India, my friend, the utility poles look like satanic Christmas trees. So much tangled wire, you don't know if it's electricity or a nest of snakes ready to give you a deadly shock. There's no point in looking for logic because there is none. The cables go everywhere, they crisscross, fall, and hang precariously. The electricians there appear to have interned at Hogwarts because instead of performing proper repairs, they simply add more wire on top of existing lines, hoping that nothing will explode. The outcome? Power outages are routine, and the weirdest part is that nobody seems to care. And the chaos doesn't just rule the poles. Take a look at the cars. I swear I don't know how those things are still running. There are cars falling apart, with no rearview mirror, no door, some with no headlights. It almost looks like a competition for who has the most hideous vehicle. And the traffic? Oh, the traffic. Forget laws, forget rules, it's every man for himself. Motorcycles cutting off cars, cars cutting off buses, buses swerving for cows, and everyone honking at the same time. The sound of India is not traditional music, it's honking. It's so loud you can feel your ear begging for political asylum in another country. And the worst part is you look at it and think, this can't possibly work. But somehow, it does. Chaotic, dangerous, noisy, but it works. 3. Death trains. If you think you've suffered on public transport, it's because you've never taken a train in India. There, the scene is straight out of a horror movie. The train cars are incredibly crowded. People ride hanging from the doors, pressed tightly against each other, or simply on the roof, as if it were a sightseeing tour. And this is no exaggeration at all. It happens every single day. And of course, an accident isn't an exception. It's routine. One imbalance, a wrong push, and that's it. You become a statistic. Nevertheless, millions of Indians rely on these trains to get to work, to study, and to live their lives. And get this, it's not just the absurd overcrowding. Trains get delayed, they break down, and the power fails constantly. Yet despite all this, people still board them anyway. It seems like the thinking is, if I survive, great. If not, oh well. In the next life, I'll come back as a sacred cow. And that's not an exaggeration. Accidents do occur, and they are not uncommon. In 2023 alone, India reported over 16,000 deaths in various railway incidents, ranging from runovers to derailments. And yet trains remain an essential mode of transport because they're affordable, efficient when operational, and indispensable in a country of 1.4 billion residents. Do you take the subway in São Paulo and find the overcrowding unbelievable? But after seeing an Indian train, I can guarantee you, the one in São Paulo looks like a Swiss tourist train. In India, taking the train isn't merely transportation, it's a true test of endurance. Whoever arrives doesn't celebrate the journey, they celebrate being alive. If that shocked you, share this with a friend who complains about the crowded subway. I want to see their face after watching this. 4. Buses and animals in traffic. If you already find taking a bus in your city to be a struggle, just wait until you experience it in India. Over there, traffic agents actually use long sticks to push and manage the people, guiding those who are trying to get in. It really feels like a human rodeo. People crowd together, pushing and shoving like everyone is fleeing an apocalypse. And get this, the bus drivers don't care at all. If it touches, it hits, it dents, and life goes on. Every bus is glued to the next, horns honking nonstop, and people squeezing in like it's their last day on Earth. And the price of this chaos shows up in the numbers. In 2022, India reported more than 172,000 road fatalities. That's nearly 500 individuals daily. To compare, that's more than the entire population of a medium-sized Brazilian city disappearing in a single year, just from road accidents. The WHO ranks India's road mortality rate among the globe's highest, approaching 15 fatalities per 100,000 inhabitants. But hold on, because Indian traffic has a special flavor: animals. Yes, because in addition to cars, motorcycles, and buses, you share the street with cows, goats, buffaloes, and sometimes even elephants. It's as if the asphalt were an open zoo and you were the intruder. And believe me, it's not you who rules the street, it's the cow. If it decides to lie down in the middle of the avenue, it's over. Traffic stops. Cars, bikes, buses, nobody moves, because the cow is sacred. And if you touch one of them, you could go straight to the hospital, not due to the accident, but because someone's going to hit you. It's truly surreal. In India, crossing the street isn't merely about looking both ways. It's about earnestly praying not to be run over by both a bus and a cow simultaneously. 5. Monkeys, rats, and other pests. If you think you've been robbed by a street thief, wait until you meet the official thieves of India, the monkeys. These pesky little devils are truly masters of crime. They steal food, snatch glasses right off your face, grab your phone from your hand, and still have the audacity to escape by jumping on power lines as if it were an action movie scene. And if you're not careful, they'll even blackmail you. Yes, blackmail. The monkey steals your water bottle and will only give it back if you trade it for a banana. It's the famous ape version of a flash kidnapping. But wait, because monkeys are only the initial layer of the infestation. The second is rats. And here, I'm not speaking metaphorically. A rat is literally sacred in some parts of India. I myself had a surreal experience in Varanasi. I was in a cheap hotel lying down when a rat crossed my room. I called the front desk, desperate, begging them to finally get rid of the creature. The staff member came up and said, "Kill the rat? You can't. Rat is sacred." He almost called the police. I threatened to hit it with a flip-flop. The result? They moved me to another room and let the rat live there, no problem. The famous rat room. In Rajasthan, the famous Karni Mata temple houses over 25,000 free-roaming rats that are treated as divinities. People feed the animals with milk, grains, and sweets. And if you're lucky enough to see a white rat, they say it's a sign of blessing. Can you imagine? Where I live, a rat is called an urban plague. There, it's practically a guest of honor at lunch. 6. Religion and strange rituals. India is a place where religion shapes daily life. And let's be honest, some rituals appear to have been created on a day when the gods were just fooling around. Beginning with the Shiva Lingam. In theory, it symbolizes the divine energy of Shiva, the equilibrium between the masculine and the feminine. Pretty cool, huh? But in practice, when you look at it, it's basically a penis-shaped stone with a base that looks like, well, you get it. And devotees pour milk, honey, and even other things over it, believing it brings them blessings. I don't know about you, but when I saw that, I figured, this has to be a TV prank, it just has to be. But hold on, it actually gets even better, because in southern India, once a year, they have the famous cow dung war. Yes, you heard that right. Hundreds of people gather to literally throw cow dung at each other. And it's not a joke, it's a religious tradition. They believe that contact with dung brings luck, wards off diseases, and purifies the soul. I can't help but think, if dung brought health, hospitals would be corrals. And of course, the cow is not just a producer of ammunition in this war, it is sacred. If one decides to cross the street and stop traffic, nobody moves. And if anyone dares to raise a hand against it, they might get lynched. In other words, in India, you can fight with people, you can curse politicians, but a cow? No way! A cow is practically a spiritual VIP. 7. The River of Death. In India, there's a sacred river, a place where millions dive, brush their teeth, drink water, and believe they purify their souls. It sounds beautiful, spiritual, and almost poetic. But here's the catch. This river is also one of the most polluted on Earth. Yes, I'm talking about the Ganges River. It's not just water in there. It's got domestic sewage, industrial waste, plastic, garbage, cremation ashes, and in some cases, even entire bodies floating around. It's essentially a deadly concoction, presented as an all-inclusive spiritual experience. And the most bizarre part is that even so, millions dive in every year. The logic is, it doesn't matter if the water looks like bottled pee. If it's sacred, then it purifies. It's almost as if someone were to hand you a plastic bottle filled with pee and poop, claiming, "Relax, my friend, this here is liquid blessing." To put it into perspective, recent studies indicate that the Ganges River water contains extremely high levels of fecal coliforms, directly leading to cholera, leptospirosis, typhoid fever, and a complete menu of diseases. Each dive is a bacteriological Russian roulette. And there's more. In cities like Varanasi, poor families who can't afford sufficient wood to cremate their dead often end up putting the bodies directly into the river. The scene is so absurd it looks like fiction, but it's routine. In the Ganges, you can certainly discover faith, but you'll also encounter sewage, plastic, human ashes, and if misfortune strikes, even a floating limb. Hey, have you thanked God today for not being born in India? So, here's what you do. Share this video with that friend who's constantly complaining about their life, claiming everything is terrible, and just tell them, dude, chill out. It honestly could be far worse. You could be bathing in sacred sewage in the Ganges River right now. And look, the odds were high. 1 out of every 6 people in the world is born there. 8. Food and the bathroom. Now, if there's one thing that defines India, it's the street food. Stalls are at every corner. Spices fill the air, and dishes are vibrant. It looks like a gastronomic paradise until you look a little closer. Because hygiene, my dear friend, is a concept that is quite absent there. Grimy pans, flies landing directly on the food, a cook stirring the dish with a sweaty hand, and the detail that made me lose faith. Have you ever seen a cook washing his private parts in the restaurant sink? Yeah, a YouTuber told this, and it was right after he returned to the kitchen to prepare the curry. The result? A tourist who gets excited by the colors and aromas ends up spending the next few days in the bathroom peeing from behind. Literally. It's not a figure of speech. Some people say, "Oh, I was sick for a day or two." Not me. I felt ill every single day there. Waking up healthy in India was an exception, and this is no exaggeration. Studies show that about 30% of foreigners who visit India end up with some kind of gastrointestinal problem. And the most surreal part is that for them, this is normal. Indians eat on the street without any problem, as if their bodies already had an antivirus against salmonella. Meanwhile, the gringo leaves India with the country's most famous souvenir, sacred diarrhea. And that brings up the question, how does a population of 1.4 billion people still exist? If every street food dish gets you a free ticket to the hospital? 9. Monstrous inequality. If there's one word that defines India, besides chaos, it's inequality. Over there, the gap between the rich and the poor is so vast it appears to be another world entirely. On one side, millionaire politicians and businessmen live in luxurious neighborhoods, grand mansions, with children in top schools, driving luxury cars. On the other, a crowd surviving in the middle of garbage, sharing space with cows, dogs, and rats. And it goes beyond poverty. India still carries the weight of the caste system. It's officially abolished, but in practice it continues to function. Those born at the bottom of the social pyramid, the so-called Dalits, are condemned to live as invisible. These are people cleaning streets, collecting trash, carrying bodies in the Ganges, and no matter their effort, they'll never level up. It's like a bugged video game. You are born in Phase 1 and then you die in Phase 1. Meanwhile, corruption runs rampant. Public funds vanish, politicians gain wealth, and the populace manages as best they can. Seem familiar? Reminds you of a certain country where I was born, one we all know, right? But in India, the contrast is much more brutal. It's that shocking scene. A millionaire skyscraper with a rooftop pool next to a gigantic favela without sanitation. And they both coexist on the same street as if it were normal. 10. The irony of sanitation. Brace yourselves. This is where Brazilians make fools of themselves. Even with all the mess cows in the street, sacred rats, and people bathing in a polluted river, India managed to surpass Brazil in basic sanitation. According to the WHO, 52% of the Indian population lives in houses with sewage treatment. In Brazil, it's 50%. That's right. While we think we're more civilized, the country that throws dead people's ashes in the river managed to get ahead of us. And mind you, we're talking about a nation with 1.4 billion inhabitants. Bringing sanitation to half of those people is a monstrous challenge. And yet, they managed to get better numbers than us, with our little more than 200 million. In other words, the country we love to use as a joke, the one in memes with cows crossing highways, managed to solve more practical things than Brazil. Isn't that enough to make you wake up in a cold sweat? It's that moment when you look at the data and then you think, wait a minute, so India is actually ahead of us? No, this has to be a trick. Please wake me up from this nightmare. In the end, the lesson is painful. We laugh at India and the memes, but India is already laughing at us. 11. The Taj Mahal and tourism. When India comes to mind, the initial image that typically surfaces is the Taj Mahal, hailed as one of the world's 7 wonders. This white marble palace appears almost ethereal, as if plucked from a fairy tale. Its beauty is simply undeniable. You look at it and think, wow, finally something that lives up to Instagram. But just take 2 steps outside the gate and the magic ends. Inside, it's the perfect setting for a cover photo. Outside, you'll find poverty, filth, beggars on every street corner, and the same old chaos. It's as if the Taj Mahal were an island surrounded by reality on all sides. There's also this. Tourists get there thinking they'll experience a spiritual contemplative moment. In reality, though, you're constantly encircled by persistent guides, eager vendors attempting to force trinkets upon you, and children tugging at your clothing, pleading for money. Honestly, it's quite insufferable, that stark and brutal contrast. You're standing before one of humanity's greatest creations, yet you can't relax because you're more preoccupied with your wallet in your pocket. The Taj Mahal is India epitomized in a single location, a stunning facade that conceals the chaos outside. It's beautiful for photos, but to live there is another story. Honestly, I wouldn't set foot in India even if they paid me. Now I want to hear from you. Would you dare to travel there? Would you brave the food, the rats, the traffic, and even take a bath in the Ganges? Answer in the comments, as I want to see who's crazy enough to say yes. Oh, and if you've made it this far, comment India, just so I can get to know my loyal audience. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with that friend who keeps saying they want to travel to find spiritual enlightenment. But he's more likely to just achieve enlightenment in the hotel bathroom. Hey, check out this unmissable video on the screen. Thanks, and see you later.